Russell Quirk, as I say, is with me. Russell, we talked about Hurricane Milton. Luckily, we don't have to deal with these sort of storms here, but we do still have the fun storm of the Tory leadership contest. We didn't get to talk much about it in the last hour, but I mean, quite a shock in Tuesday's third ballot, when James Cleverly stormed to the top and first place, having fought it out, we thought, with Tom Tugendhat for third place. Kemi Badenoch pushed down to third place, and then what was so Jenrick was down to third place, and then what was so amazing was people were saying, well, it's James Cleverly's a sure thing to get through to the final two and the members get to have their say, but no, he was out in the final ballot. Now, Robert Jenrick, Kemi Badenoch going before the Tory party membership. We're told it's the right wing versus the right wing, and the centrists, so-called, are out. I'm not sure right wing and left wing and centrist are very useful words because I don't even know what they think they're referring to anymore. But why do you think this happened? Why do you think was it shenanigans by Jenrick's team to try and boost Cleverly falsely in the third ballot? Was it shenanigans by Cleverly's team, or was it a load of people thinking, oh, Cleverly's over the line, I'll make sure I get to choose the second candidate?
Well, it would seem, look, given the recent history of the Parliamentary Conservative Party, that the last thing they wanted was a runoff between Badenoch as a so-called right-winger and Jenrick as a so-called right-winger. So obviously they had their man, their moderate, should we call him, in James Cleverly, kind of ready. And I guess they wanted to pick and choose as to who he went up against, and they seem to have got it wrong in terms of the voting math. So the tellers, the whips, if you like, in terms of those that were running each individual campaign, what they've tried to do is to ensure, for instance, that Kemi Badenoch didn't get through to the last two, knowing that Badenoch would probably beat James Cleverly. I'm going to agree,
it is Badenoch. I spoke to her husband. I got the correct pronunciation.
My apologies, Kemi.
But basically, neither of the other candidates wanted to go up against Kemi Badenoch because she's the most popular among party members, according to polls.
Yes.
Although she had been sliding, she was the one to beat, was she not? And then she seems to have been sliding.
Well, I looked at the latest YouGov numbers, which is a poll only of 1,000 or so Conservative Party members 3 or 4 days ago, and actually James Cleverly is actually the least popular of the three of them amongst members. There is this huge disparity, of course,
which is strange because he was
between the Parliamentary Party and members.
He was chairman of the party. He's
also complicit, isn't he? Because he was very, very much
Home Secretary and Foreign Secretary. Yeah, I mean that's the thing is he is genuinely a very nice guy. I mean, he really is. Actually,
I don't think we want a nice guy.
They're all nice. Genuinely, I actually have a lot of time for all of those final four candidates.
But the last thing they want is a nice guy.
But this is the thing. It's this idea that, well, you win elections in the centre of the ground. And as we were talking with the Labour list editor, well, yeah, I mean, the thing is, what is centre ground? And again, Labour didn't win the election. The Tories lost the election. I mean, their polling now is 1%. As soon as they started doing stuff, and we see what they're really like, and all the freebie gate and all of that, Sue Gray and the infighting, they're down to a 1% lead. Yeah. Any half-decent, vaguely competent Tory leader can win back, maybe not power, but who knows. But given that we went from 2017 to 2019 with Boris Johnson's majority after minority government under Theresa May in 2017, where we went from 2019 to 2024 with Keir Starmer overturning that and winning 412 MPs. When people say, oh, it's impossible, Labour are going to be in for 2 terms, I'm sorry, there is no way to predict what will happen at all. Black swan events, COVID, Ukraine war, we don't know what's going to happen.
Anybody that thinks that the Conservative Party, the Parliamentary Party, should be moving further to the left in order to seek and grab the centre ground. They haven't been paying attention for the last 3 years, because that's exactly what Rishi Sunak and Jeremy Hunt did, and it backfired absolutely spectacularly.
But they did try and talk the talk. No,
but they didn't act, did they? On such things as tax, immigration and crime, which are fundamental tenets.
You need to be someone who has walked the walk. Now, that's where Kemi Badenoch and Robert Jenrick have both got different claims, haven't they? Because Kemi Badenoch, she did actually, she got on top of the trans ideology stuff. She's spoken out about the critical race theory, and she, as an equalities minister, she has actually walked the walk, and she hasn't allowed any of that nonsense. She's talking openly. Robert Jenrick, though, he resigned from government, saying that the immigration policy wasn't working. Now,
Rwanda didn't go far enough.
Was this him manoeuvring to be in this position now, or is he a genuine, born-again right-winger? Because you know, a year ago even, look, he was put into the Home Office to keep an eye on Suella Braverman.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean...
He was a moderate, inverted commas.
Kemi would appear to be more authentic when it comes to matters of a conservative nature. Robert Jenrick, if you think back just 2 or 3 years, was not renowned for being a right-winger. He was more of a cleverly, more of a moderate.
Well, he was a Rishi Sunak loyalist, wasn't he?
So I think, and look, maybe he would argue, but that's the whole collective responsibility thing of being part of the government, minister, cabinet member and so on. But I think what would be interesting now, given that the last 2 leadership battles haven't gone to the membership, they've been deprived of deciding who the leader and therefore the Prime Minister should be, this will be a real test of the membership of the Conservative Party. And where
not the last 2. Liz Truss was elected by the members,
so the last, certainly the Sunak, So, but this will be a real test, I think, of where the Conservative Party, not the Parliamentary Party, but the membership sit. And I suspect, and from what I know, I am an ex-Conservative Party member, so I do sometimes still talk to them, they want a true, dyed-in-the-wool, authentic Conservative. I don't think we've got that truly and genuinely in abundance with either Kemi or Robert Jenrick. But I think, you know, we're closer, I think, than we would have been with the likes of Tom Tugendhat and
I mean, this is the thing, again, so many of the things that we're told, right-winger, you know, wants to limit legal migration and illegal immigration, tackling crime, being tougher on crime,
terrible,
and, you know, not playing along with too much of the net zero matters. I would say don't play along with any of it, but I mean, we really need to get to grips on that. But, you know, the culture wars, which apparently the right started, I don't remember us saying, let's cut off children's breasts and genitals. I don't remember us saying that. That was you lot. But it seems to me these are not some weird extremist views. They are the majority view of people in the country. And what's really interesting when you look at because there's the idea that, well, you know, are you going to get those Reform UK voters back from Nigel Farage? You can't out Farage, as he said himself. We've got to get those voters who sat at home and didn't vote, and those people who voted Lib Dem. Well, there were a few of those who voted Lib Dem, but some new polling out yesterday suggests that even those who voted Lib Dem instead, they actually have the same views as those who voted for reform.
But in every election since 2015, so whether it be the Brexit referendum or successive general elections, of which there have been very many, frankly, over the last 9 years or so, the majority have voted for policies and parties that reflect restricting immigration, being tough on crime, being low tax, pro-business and so on. We are a conservative country.
But then they haven't got it.
But then we've got people like Tom Belger saying, well, if you're not for open-door immigration and letting people out of prisons and letting men be women and women be men, you're a fascist far-right thug.
Yeah, he did not exactly his words, but that was kind of, you know, saying this was offensive. Here's the thing, in terms of what actually ends up happening, it seems to me that, you know, you're going to end up with, you know, Keir Starmer. I mean, he's already on the ropes, frankly, already. If one of these candidates can actually get the act together, push a clear message, there could be a viable conservative, you know, resurgence. But they still got that threat from Reform UK and Nigel Farage. And it seems to me, when you look at what's happening in the rest of Europe, and you look at what's happening in America as well, you know, I mean, it is amazing, particularly in Europe, people are voting to the right, particularly young people are moving to the right. Now, I just think that politicians in the mainstream parties, you can ignore that as long as you want and go to your nice dinner parties and everyone think you're a nice person. But at the end of the day, it's not going to fly with voters. It's just not going to fly. And, you know, if you don't deal with it, someone else will.
But if we end up with a situation, as we're inevitably going to, where you've got, let's just call them, rather than right-wingers, a true Conservative running the Conservative Party, shock horror. I mean, why would that not be the case? Yeah.
Why not have, why have a Lib Dem running the Conservatives?
Which we nearly had to a degree with Cleverly and certainly with Tom Tugendhat. But imagine that. So let's say we've got Kemi Badenoch as the leader of His Majesty's opposition, and then you've got Nigel Farage on Reform, Richard Tice and so on. I mean, they're two sides of the same coin. I think, I mean, lots of people disagree with this, particularly Reform, but give it a year or two, they're going to have to merge. They're going to have to. Yeah,
I mean, we know that's something that Tory party members aren't keen on, interestingly, but there we are. Fascinating. I want to hear your thoughts on this. Do get in touch, 0344 499 1000. Send us a text as well, 87222. Get in touch on X at TalkTV. Love to hear your thoughts on the Tory leadership. I'd love to hear your thoughts on these stronger workers' rights from the first day in the job. One of the things I found fascinating, this announcement of this new bill, which is, you know, what is it called? It's what she called it? It's some sort of workers, New Deal for working people. No, of course we need workers' rights. And again, I'm not anti-union. You know, maternity leave, sick pay, and things like that. Although I don't know anybody who can survive on sick pay for very long, but there we are. But basically, we're looking at handing over rights to people from day one, and we were talking about how much this is going to damage businesses where you hire someone, the cost of recruiting someone, hiring someone, training them up, and you get people, and sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes, you know, I mean, when I worked on the breakfast show here, we'd be producers and they'd be doing the early shift, getting up at, you know, silly o'clock, and you could tell within 2 weeks that people could hack it. It's you either got that
even though the
body
interview,
clock,
of course, they'd say, hey, yeah, I'm up for this.
yeah, but everyone's up. You can tell from the body clock very, very, very quickly that someone this just doesn't suit them. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with them. It just doesn't suit them. And some people don't suit some jobs. They just
but
don't.
Julia, I just don't want the state.
You can't get rid of them.
I just don't want the state telling us what to do and what we can and can't do.
Well, no, obviously, but people need protection because if you look,
they've got that.
Amazon warehouses where the Amazon try and stop people from unionising and people being timed when they go to the toilet, for goodness' sake.
But then don't work there.
But they put their warehouses in places where there's high unemployment. So they know they've got a better choice. There's a trade.
There is a balance, but this goes too far.
There is a balance
because this is way in favour of employees, and therefore those that want to take advantage, take liberties. The grifters charter.
But also, I find this enshrining in law the right to ask for. Working from home, flexible working.
That's pointless.
You know, being able to combine your 5 days a week down to 4 days a week. You know, now the companies would be required to give you one of, I think, 5 or 6 specific reasons why you could not do that.
They're just going to do that then, aren't they?
Well, my thing is like, well, because I don't want you to, because I'm the employer, and if you don't like it, go and get another job where you can do that. I think it's like me when I was political editor of a Sunday newspaper. It's me going, oh, I don't want to work Saturdays anymore. When I had a kid, I changed my job
but what's the point?
Because I couldn't be a political editor and be the mum I wanted to be, and I made that decision.
But what's the point in having it enshrined in law that you can ask for something, but then actually prescribing that there are 5 things that the employer can say that means you can't have it? What's the point of that? Because the employers are just going to say, well,
it's one of those
answer
things.
number 3.
It doesn't. So again, you're just but going through these processes, it's quite bizarre. And the 0 hours contracts, I mean, there are definitely people who are exploited on 0 hours contracts, people who are told basically you can't work anywhere else and we expect you to be at the beck and call. If we call you at 1 day's notice, you can't be working somewhere else or doing something else, because if you don't say yes to that shift, you won't get any more shifts from us. Now, those employers are not good employers. They are exploitative. But people still don't have to take those jobs. There are other jobs available. Most people, 75% of 16 to 34-year-olds who do 0 hours contracts or precarious work, as Labour call it, they are very satisfied with their working conditions.
So what does this do to help workers that Labour are there, perhaps, you know, in principle they're there to kind of support? What does this do for those workers if they now don't have those jobs to go to because the whole 0 hours thing is shut out? I mean, that would seem to be the opposite of what Labour should be doing to workers.
I mean, what I would like them to tackle, there are some high street stores, well-known high street stores who employ people. They employ virtually everybody on like a 2-day-a-week deal, and basically you do the minimum 2 days so you can then claim benefits. The rest of it means they don't have to pay so much holiday pay and sick pay for those people, and they are basically playing the system and getting the taxpayer to subsidise these people deliberately when they could easily find work for those people 5 days a week. That is tax avoidance. I would say tax evasion.
But also
frankly.
See what is about to happen if this goes through, which obviously it will because of Labour's majority, to the tribunal process. It's already beleaguered.
But then I know employers who have had people make the most spurious cases, and basically they count on the basis that it's cheaper to settle than it is to spend the time on the lawyers to fight a case, even if you know that person's got no case. And that shouldn't happen.
No, it shouldn't. But there's now going to be huge voids, huge stalemates between employee and employer, because the tribunal process takes months and months and months as it is. This is now going to extend that by months, if not years.
Yeah,
just certainly completely and utterly unnecessary.
Yeah, I mean, I tell you what, though, if they're really going to do something to help workers, what about the millions who are on IR35? And you get this ridiculous thing, were on, this ridiculous law change where HMRC basically said, yeah, you're freelance, you can work full-time somewhere, but if you do basically anything regular for anyone, whether it's 1 day a week or 5 days a week, you can't be a freelance worker, you have to be a worker, you have to be employed. But you're not employed as a member of staff, you're employed as a worker. So although you pay national insurance and tax at the same rates as people who are staff, you don't get the sick pay, holiday pay, pension, maternity or paternity. You don't get any of those rights. You get no security, no rights, but you pay the same national insurance and the same tax rate as people who do.
Yeah.
And HMRC say, well, that's not our problem. But they could easily say that. If you're going to make people pay the same tax rates, you should give them the same rights.
Yeah, of course.
But then a lot of those companies will say, we wouldn't employ those people.
Yeah. It's always the no taxation without representation adage, isn't it?
Yeah.
But there's a very easy way here of making this all work, and that's to employ the free market reduce taxes, both on employees and employers, corporation tax particularly. Bearing in mind our neighbour Dublin has corporation tax which is literally half of what Britain's is. Now, Rachel Reeves has said she's going to protect it. She also needs to make sure she protects the 19% rate, by the way, which applies to smaller businesses. She hasn't said she's definitely going to do that. That's the way to get an economy growing, because guess what? Governments don't grow economies, people do.
Yeah, it's the idea that governments... I hear this in America as well, like created jobs. You really don't create jobs. Oh, I know, there's some lovely high-paying jobs at GB Energy. Let's all go and work for GB Energy when we find out what it is they actually do for their billions of pounds of taxpayers' money.
Because it's not an energy company.
Let's not producing any energy in GB, anyway.